parts, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the long-range wing would go on the cheetah also because most people bought that one. The tighter it is.
See, we got a new type of kitchen for production called this AG.
Right, that's what you were producing down
And
there.
that's,
Yeah.
so that's,
Yeah, here are the drawings and engineering and certification paperwork to show the changes. All approved by the FAA.
All this means nothing to me. I know it's necessary to do so. I know that without it, like I said, there's nothing without it.
Close to 1,000 each model.
And you can build,
The parts are
you
common.
can build the airplane with this without the tooling, but you got to build all the tooling. So that's why they both come together.
That's correct, with the type certificate and the engineering drawings, which are part of the type certificate by FAA rules. And all document certification, you could start production and build your own tools. But that would cost you $10 million bucks.
Get the tools.
Get the tools.
Gulfstream spent about 7.5 on tooling back in '78.
Well, yeah, over 10 years because we built, I'm with them since '68. We built 5 models, different models, including the Grumman.
You went with, when Grumman sold it to Gulfstream, that's when you started with him? Or was it
No, he
before
was there
that?
before them.
When
You were the
I
drum?
have to build the first Yankee
Oh, in Cleveland?
on the final assembly, the tooling first,
He's been with them since it was a private.
68. 68.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there about the time they were shuffling Jim Beatty off in the
Right, I
dust
just happened to
someplace.
see something.
Well, I remember that. I
So,
used
any
to travel
kind
in
of
Cleveland in
part-
those days.
All the planes got, every piece of got a partner. Want to make a partner?
How have you been, Bob? How'd the meet go this weekend?
Oh, we good.
Good.
We finished 7th overall. That's real pretty good.
By the way, here are all the certification documents. And for all 5 models, 4 models really. Because the two engine aircraft had a different system and was separated. And all of those certification documents and tests have been required by the FAA. And that cost, I don't know how much, millions to test, design and test those aircraft. I figure for all 5 models, over a period of 10 years, $50 million bucks cost to the companies who owned it. To get the aircraft, the first aircraft to fly, $50 million bucks, $1970. I was there. So today, to start a brand new aircraft from scratch is almost impossible financially.
Yeah.
And the rules are stricter. You know, they're certified to the older, not so strict rules, but still already, you know, safety conscious. As a matter of fact, I just saw the 1983 or 85 test pictures of the seatbelt problem. They fixed that
yeah, the
problem.
Indiana Mills.
There are pictures in there. In '85, they've been out of production for 6 years, but the FAA says you got problems with your seatbelt. A heavy-set guy broke his seatbelt. So do something about it. They did.
Oh, that was the brackets.
The brackets,
The brackets in '85.
Right.
Yeah, the Indiana Mills, that was back in '78.
Yeah, I just saw the test report.
Had to get rid of the Ford Pinto seatbelt problems.
Yeah.
They had heavy money.
We used to go down to Ford and buy the little replacement kits to fix those seatbelts with.
Yeah, we have,
Fleet with the aircraft.
here and in my home,
They had
practically,
190
I would
people
think
on
all
the road.
catalogs and some original engineering, the pictures here, for example, but not all. But we have all catalogs. You can restart that operation to supply people in the field with catalogs. And also we have the new
Didn't have all the
modification on the
engineering, we did all
AG5B.
the changes on
You know, it
the,
couldn't have been certified without.
and in
I
May,
got a lot of,
the FAA
one
said
set
that
that's
the
just got a
changes
lot
they were
of
making
corrections noted in it.
could be EO.
You probably found it in the trash pile, as
No, no, no,
I
I'm
did.
talking about stuff that I've had to use for years,
That was,
that you discovered in. like,
normally that'd be
for
about a year and a half,
example,
2 year project.
the aileron.
We got one
Four-place airplane from
5 months.
77 and later that went jointed.
But the FAA
They've
basically
got
ran the
bolts
thing,
showing
and I went out there and
the
they,
counterweight instead of with the inboard. The catalog.
FAA in Atlanta,
Yeah.
10 years ago, did exactly what they told us to do. They sent people over there. We crashed that, got the type certificate in September of 90. And then we started piecing airplanes. But probably the first year you went through about, well, from June of '89 to, we shipped the first airplane in October of '90. They probably had gone through 9.5 million bucks before they got a revenue stream.
That's a lot of money.
The previous president, I guess chairman of the board in the beginning, Jim Cox, he modified the original A5B, the original Tiger, with some rather expensive electronic equipment.
Well, not only that, but they, and after all that was done, there wasn't a computer system, there was no way to but they didn't know what the cost was. Even when we were shipping the first airplanes, we had no clue what our real cost of materials was.
I have the bill of material with me. I found it in the trash, the county dumped all our documents that we left behind because we had been told to leave and we couldn't take everything along. They dumped everything out that was still left. But here we have the important documents. We have been instructed to pick up what would be necessary to restart the operation. That's what we did. Some unimportant stuff we left behind.
Yeah,
Office furniture.
It took us about a year. It took us a good part of the year to automate, put a computer system in with shop floor reporting, with accurate bill of material, inventory, order system. So we had that starting in '92, and we still have that
Bill of
information.
material didn't exist.
Right, the bill of material. But the original estimate on the material on this airplane that I got, and I got him as an investor. I was with an investor group that funded it back in '89. The original estimate on the cost of the airplane was about $23,000 in material and $6,000 in labor. The actual bill of material. When we got production, we got our some vendors second sourced, and got production line going to support 8 airplanes a month. Was $62,000 in material and about $11,000 in labor.
Is it 29 and 6 was the original?
Was the original
I found a copy that said, I believe it's 68. It says 68. And, but the 62 may be correct because I looked at it the other day, Sunday, and there's some duplications.
62.4, and then you got your avionics package on top of that, depending on what avionics you put in there. And some of those avionics packages,
The sales plan.
we were selling for $139.80.
That was the last.
Yeah, at the last. The first ones went out the door at $62.5. And I had price increases. Y'all remember those price increases? every time we got a little more with our bill of material, we went from 62.5 to 68 to 72 to 81
To 92.
To 92.
To 110 to.
and we had a backlog on
So
all.
we have been in touch with their more than since the beginning of the thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you knew everything was going
Well, no, not everything.
We do as much as we could find out.
Bob, tell them what the most expensive haircut went out of the door for what money to the Polish haircut?
244,000. And the price point on the airplane, well, right now, in the package that I did, I gave you the list price on all the competition. You know, these airplanes will sell for in the 170 to 210,000 today, and be very competitive. I think,
But you can sell it.
yeah,
Well,
depends on your marketing program, what your market is.
you can sell that plane all day long between 125 to 135,000.
Ain't good at that. Nobody can.
Well, you just said me back in the reminder that you were taking for 68. You said 52 and 63.
No,
No,
bill of material.
That was
In
that was only
93.
the material.
Just the materials.
And that was without any avionics or
Oh, I see.
That's correct.
options,
Yeah.
autopilots. You
So
start
you
stacking
Start
tens of
stacking
thousands of
avionics
dollars,
and
you
you
never
put
will
another
quit.
$20,000 in avionics.
But then if realistically, if you look at that, you guys weren't buying it. You weren't buying right at the end. If you didn't want to watch at the beginning. We were buying engines cheaper than you were. We were buying onesie twosies. The purchasing department was not purchasing materials right. It was just like Grumman and Gulfstream. Gulfstream was at the last 2 years of Gulfstream. Every time they got another part in, price changed because they would order 10 of them instead of 500 of them. And 500 of them might have cost 75 cents a piece, but 10 of them cost $3.
Well, this would be the way to go, order in large quantities. They always save. They always save. If you have to buy like one at a time, as we did at the end of '93, the engine cost $16,000-$17,000.
Now, one of the other things that I looked at was we could have probably knocked our material costs down by 30%. We didn't make anything. Everything, all we did is final, it is simple. So all the parts were subbed out, and you know, you subbed out the aircraft manufacturers who were already making parts for Boeing and all the big guys. So we were not really able to leverage our purchasing. That's what it's all about.
We made a few percent of our own simple parts
Simple.
in the machine shop, and of course the composite.
But we brought that in after we started there.
We got brand new tooling.
We brought that in after we started. We were paying $2,100 for that cowling, and then we see. I brought in what I brought in was I brought in.
More, I saw the records.
$2,700,
$4,000 just for some loose parts that didn't fit.
But what we did is we brought in-house over a period of a couple of years all the operations that didn't require a lot of capital to get the equipment. But most of the stuff was still out at vendors, and they ship us complete ship checks and we just put it together. So you had labor rates in there of probably $30 an hour plus that profit margin of 50%.
If today you have
Not
to...
so high in Arkansas, remember?
Oh, yeah, they're charging us $35 an hour in loading freight. You talking about Reagan?
The rates in Arkansas, labor rates.
Reagan, we could have bought them parts, we could have made those parts cheaper than you did.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you had the processing equipment, because that was the killer there, was the processing equipment was extremely expensive.
To do the bonding from detail parts to final bond assembly is high.
You couldn't hardly start that up unless you had the money. I mean,
That's right.
you're looking at,
You're talking about millions again.
yeah, you're talking about a couple $1 million capital investment to be able to do that.
For the autoclave, that's how it's
You don't
done.
need an autoclave for all parts. And all the
Just an
This is
oven?
all air pressure,
When they got into bonding, they were not doing any bonding in ovens until they got this project. And the first parts they did for us, they were doing it in an autoclave they already had. They built a complete bonding facility, building and ovens and layout room and everything to do the Tiger project,
in the priming facility.
including the
I
priming.
was working with them for 10 months, maybe 11 months, to get them going. They make parts for 20 aircraft companies in this country, but all for heavy aircraft. They did not know how to build, how to bond the aircraft. Of course, they had a good man running the show there from Grumman, and they did not know how to do it, to handle thin material. It's 16,000 the thinnest and probably 60,000 the heaviest material on an aircraft. They didn't know how to do that because they did all heavy stuff. You handle it differently. You know, pre-rolling the skins on the wing. Very important. Pre-rolling this and pre-rolling that. So I helped them to restart the operation, and they did a better job than Gulfstream. Through. They got a
Harry
better-
lived over there for a year. I sent him to Arkansas.
and a better bonding system too. It's a Boeing
So
system.
that was your main source of bond.
Yes, they built all the bondments, which is the fuselage, the wings, elevator,
What was that company?
Kim Fab.
Kim.
Yeah, they want to continue to build.
That was in Little Rock.
But did you say you don't need all the exotic autoclave and
No,
stuff?
not the other clip. You need
It
an
cost
oven.
you $500,000 to set up a bonding operation capable of doing everything
We cut, cost
I
$100
think more.
in the U.S. Yeah.
I think more.
Well, they spent about $300,000.
That's what I told you.
Yeah.
That would be cheap because you start. Well, they spent 300,000, but they had already the metal processing facility to clean it with acid and so forth. That is might be $500,000, and some states will not allow you to put it up because it's dangerous. They say they had it already in operation. Then they had a little bond room, Mickey Mouse, and I complained about it. It's not to the spec. So they built a new bond room. They also put an autoclave in there for other projects they're working on. I was complaining about the priming facility. You see, the metal has to be primed before bonding, and then it has to be baked. They cleared the tool shop and air conditioned it, cleaned it up, bought a new oven again, in a different building to bake. For example, the priming has to be done. The man who primes it has got to be a good aircraft painter too. You're allowed to put on only
That's why the price was up for
thousandths of an inch, something like
Let me
that.
ask you a question.
But then
If
after-
as of today, if you have to put this in
After
the
2 hours,
and instead of
the numbers start to float away. After a short time, you got to go in the oven to bake. Otherwise, no good. So they spend all that money plus refurbishing our tooling. In some cases, they've been neglected, banged around. They fixed it.
let's say about
Or
this-
they built
this
new
area,
tools
this area.
also.
I think you'd probably take a third off. That's what best guess I could come up with while I was involved with it. So you probably, when your engine,
Looking at about
out of the 60, 66,000, say, you got 16,000 that's engine. Can't do nothing with that. So that,
out of that 66,000, their profit margin for the farm out was probably 40% profit margin.
I think somewhere between 40 and 50.
So if you just took that out,
So say 50,000, and say you're gonna save, I think you save a third of that.
so then you're down
Why don't
35,000.
the investors go for the bank for where you're working with? Why don't they not go for the other?
Because of the time,
You know, anything to do with it.
Then they're done that, right?
it was not something that we wanted to get into and manage on a day-by-day basis. It was something that we wanted to invest in and provide a return.
Right.
And,
You got the return, but it was in your money. spot.
Right.
I think you
But-
came on board in self-defense, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I was appointed that,
So as of today, who's the owner of everything?
well,
What are we talking
the
about?
ownership is split up. The type certificates and all the engineering data and all the QC data, all the certification data is owned by American General Aircraft Holdings Corporation.
Oh, I see the whole.
And that holding company is owned by some of the investors that were in American General Aircraft Corporation
Originally.
originally. The tooling is owned by the debtor in possession of American General Aircraft Corporation, which is in bankruptcy, which the federal trustee, U.S. trustee, has control over those assets. So what we've done is we've got an agreement approved by the court to put the tooling, put the estate's assets with the holding company's assets and market that as a package. So whoever buys it will have everything that's necessary to start up a new company.
Without that, you don't have much of anything to sell.
Well,
Either party.
without that, what you got is, you've got, nobody's gonna buy the tooling without the type certification and engineering. So, the holding company really is in the driver's seat on the project because the state would have scrap
Yeah.
without the other assets. So the holding company, if we couldn't have worked out this agreement, the holding company would have basically gone to the auction and paid whatever it takes over scrap value to buy the tooling.
Yeah.
And then they would have had the whole package, but rather than go through that, we worked out an agreement.
Is there real estate in there?
No, but we leased the facility. That's really why the company shut down. It's because the city of Greenville canceled our lease and would not renew our lease.
Or is that where the building you were talking about?
We can drive out the airport, I'll show you what they had.
And we
They
did,
literally kicked you out of there.
they kicked us out, yeah, we moved this over a week period of time, and they wouldn't renew it. We actually had enough money committed from the investors to continue, because we were cash flowing there at the end. We were positively cash flowing on 5 airplanes a month. Okay. So we
Supposed to
wasn't,
do that.
right, in 93 and the last 15 airplanes. We filed a Chapter 11 trying a reorganization petition, trying to force the city into renewing their lease.
Right.
And
With your building.
with fewer buildings, that's right, because we didn't need all that space. I mean, that was another, it was
40,000 square
costing.
feet. Yeah, Colorado Side, there was a huge place.
Oh, you was ridiculous, it was
We only had
costing,
737 jets in there.
circle was costing us $30,000 a month.
$30,000.
$16,000 for the lease, and the utilities were running about 10.
You could have built this aircraft virtually in the toilet space you have in those
We
facilities.
could have,
It's just about, you ought to be twice as big as this. You could build
Yeah.
and so we didn't need all that space, and what I tried to get them to do after we filed the reorg was to just lease us part of that space and let us continue. And we had $2 million of bridge financing in place, and we had a $21 million commitment on a public offering in place. But the city thought that they were getting the JPATS program out of Northrop into this facility here. They'd been told that Northrop was getting the JPATS training aircraft program. And Northrop had signed an agreement that if they got it, they would come into Greenville. And so they didn't want us in there. I mean, we were at that time down to 65 employees, building 5 airplanes a month.
You were doing all right.
And we were doing all right, and Northrop was saying we're going to put 1,600 people out there and use this whole facility. So even though we had the financing and we had the commitment financially to continue, the city would not renew the lease, and so the judge said without a place to build it, he wouldn't approve the reorg plan. And so that was basically why we
Catch 22 situation.
What didn't after everything?
Northrop didn't get the contract, these guys.
Yeah. Cessna thought they were gonna get it too, so.
And so this facility stayed vacant out here for 2.5 years.
Who's in there now with Sutherland?
Miami
Paint
commercial.
shop, there's jet, something,
Leading Edge is doing the painting.
or some other.
Commercial jet
Greenville, commercial jet Greenville.
That's out of Miami. They were Miami.
See, here's how they
National. I think we got it.
This is your quote.
But it's a fly-by-nighter. They'll fall from their lease out there.
I was just wondering, was the Memphis group there over at Greenwood, and
They get all the parts.
they've spread out all over.
Oh, at one
Yeah, we've got
time,
the
I
complete
understand
service
before we
manuals,
came,
all the parts manuals,
They
everything.
call it the Boeing facility because they built it for Boeing.
Yeah.
Didn't
That's
belong
what
to
you're going
Boeing.
to see.
And they
You
got,
go pull those parts, pull those parts under your files, pull up,
And,
give you
uh,
a master drawing.
FedEx, listen, if I'm correct, it's by hearsay. FedEx was interested to
This
do
is
some
just a book
drilling
that they're
before we
adding,
got
had to
it.
use some drawing on it.
And, the city said, well, how many people will you employ? So they told them. The city said, that's not enough. You don't get the building. So they have a big facility in Memphis now.
Yeah, they do.
It could have been here.
Yeah, I tried to sublease that building. I talked to everybody in the world. I talked to Pete, Bassey, I talked to FedEx, I talked to everybody that showed any interest in wanting that facility because I would sublease 90% of it.
Sure.
And still have room to build our little airplane,
I
but
try to make them a deal.
could get it right.
But he tried to find some other places to build the airplane, and that didn't work out, outside.
Yeah, right there in the end, but we could have moved all this into another space, but it had to be
So in
within
other words,
about 45 miles of Greenville, because of the labor.
Yeah.
Your labor, you couldn't retrain that labor to start over, you had to use
Took
this
3
labor.
years, 3 years,
Yeah.
and we had a good crew when we had to shut down. The, one mistake was made by this, person running the
everything
show.
come together in one fit
Was,
that they were buying.
he did not listen.
No, they were buying everything,
Hired
like they were
me.
buying the glass from
Good
one place,
way.
they were buying the upholstery from somewhere else.
Just putting it
And I
in.
was
You were
the
doing
only
your
one
own
who
upholstery
came
work
to
there, weren't you?
Yeah.
And, I said, you
Well,
need.
yeah,
know
we
you had
were,
a
yeah, we
fabric shop
were,
up there.
yeah, we were, we brought that in-house, we were buying that out of, Sky Travel over.
Super, down to the foreman level.
And we finally
Otherwise
bought
you're
a
in
couple
trouble.
of machines.
They need to be able to train the local
We
people.
started sewing it ourselves, we could save a lot of money.
They brought
They
in
just bring-
novices.
They buy the radios and they were coming in,
So they
had
floor into the
a room up there set up for their avionics and stuff.
It was,
And they were putting it in
was,
the panel, and the panel would go down as an assembly.
of course, I get asked a lot,
Just
you
bolt
know,
right in here.
people, why did,
How many aircraft are flying right now?
basically,
That we built.
company, the
No,
overall,
ever
the
since
high
this
levels of the rock center.
About 3,700 that they built.
It was doomed.
And 175.
Yeah,
We're
but
talking about 4,000.
when Bob got involved, we got more
Yeah, they
in the
built-
top
I
end.
think,
Aircraft,
they built 5,500
people,
over the
not
years.
large aircraft, small aircraft.
And they can-
The AA5B,
Yeah.
How many planes total, 2 or 4 planes were built?
Wait a minute, I got your answer right here.
3,700.
From 79 back.
Well, there was a total of just over 5,000 total production figure from 68 through the end of
In
79.
one piece of paper, you have all the information of all aircraft buildings.
So actually it was a Grumman American joint venture.
Started out at Grumman.
Except
Started out
for
American
American
Aviation. Then Grumman bought American Aviation. And then Gulfstream bought Grumman.
Grumman America.
So it becomes Grumman American.
Well, my glasses, I think it says 4,002, is that right?
4,992.
Oh, jeez.
So almost
Can't read
5,000.
very much.
That includes the Cougar.
Yeah,
Also it started out with
114.
Yankee and then went into trainer.
The numbers are accurate because we have for all the Grumman aircraft, the microfilm on 16 millimeter coverages for the documents for each aircraft built.
115th
I got them at home because air conditioning, heating problems, you know. There's the viewer and a copier. We can make copies of
So
the
for all the
documents.
aircraft you have the information.
All Grumman built aircraft from,
Plus I.
no, not ours, no.
Got our,
We don't have it on microfilm.
not on microfilm, we got all the records.
Let me show you here what we got.
He's the engineer.
He's the chancellor of the exchequer.
Here, to answer your question. No, you brought it up. Our aircraft. Here are all the documents, FAA required documents, relative to each serial number that we built. And look at how neat that is.
You must have did that.
Mike Jones said that.
Complete.
Yeah, for that aircraft, all work orders and necessary documents to certify the aircraft. Inspected, signed by the inspector, variations of parts, modified variations. You can fix, if something is not exactly right, we have a standard repair manual. It goes by a specification to fix a minor problem. So everything is here up to the last aircraft built.
All the aircrafts are here within the United States.
Oh, no. Matter of fact, 55% of the ones we built went overseas.
One was flown to South Africa. It was flown to South Africa.
Yeah, most of ours were ferried. The only ones that were shipped were Martin Air's. We did 9 for Martin Air, which is a KLM training facility in Holland. And we shipped those in containers, but the rest of them were flown.
They got them in Turkey.
Turkey. Matter of fact, we got a world record. We beat Lindbergh's record going to Paris, nonstop. That was
From
on
here?
From here, yeah.
Do you have a list of the people that you sold it to?
Oh yeah. We've got a
I
list.
think you have the list, I don't.
We had 17 international distributors and 12 U.S. distributors that had exclusive.
How many did you sell to Turkey?
About 5 or 6.
Which one of those?
They went
They
to.
won't be on that list.
They're
There.
not on that.
But they have some older planes, 78s, 79s in there.
They went to
Remember,
wait a
Andrews
minute,
University, I
Those
believe.
records for the Grumman build
Oh,
aircraft,
Grumman. Oh, I
those
see.
records
I see,
have been
I see.
put on microfilm photograph, and I got 3 boxes, maybe 300-400 cartridges
I
full
see.
of microfilm for those.
I see. So
Those
this is one set of history, and this is the second set of history.
Right, that's the last. It's
see.
the
They have
original
some
right
Thailand,
here.
too.
You sold them to Thailand?
Yeah, Thai Flying Club.
How many did you sell it to Thailand?
I don't know. Couple, 3.
They had a,
Which one were they? Do you know which type, model?
Here's a-
Tiger. All
All
Tigers.
By the way,
All
Now,
8.
Thailand had some old cheetahs.
yeah, well, they had a couple of 1Cs. We sold them an auxiliary fuel system, 1C over there. Probably 88.
Between their
We
records
had,
and our records, we've got just about.
We had 2
everybody.
in Japan.
All training.
Training. Most of the ones, I'd say that 90% of the ones that went overseas were training flight school, credit universities, governmental flight school. And then another 10% probably just personal aircraft.
remember the total time it took to fly to South Africa, across the from Bangor to the Azores, and then along the western shores of Africa. 90 some hours.
I think a guy by the name of Cox flew that. I think he writes for one of the magazines.
Yeah, there was a big article on that flight because of the length and the single engine aircraft, the reliability. They didn't have any problems. We built that thing and they took off here and went to Bangor and all the way to South Africa and never had
It was
a.
brand new, flight tested of course, for a few hours.
No lawsuit, no accidents, no nothing.
Well, we've had a couple of accidents now, but no lawsuits.
No lawsuits.
You haven't had a serious one, have you?
Yeah, we had a fatality
Did
in
you?
Michigan.
On the AG-5B?
On the AG.
Pilot error or
Pilot error. Guy was VFR and flew into a snowstorm, and it was a whiteout. He crashed.
That happens with every airplane.
Yeah.
Those gentlemen are
Right,
in
he was
the
with the
Yankee
tower.
Flying
That was really
Club.
documented. Tower told him not to, and he did it anyway. And We got great records on that.
The design is such outstanding that hardly, not too many people get killed in our aircraft, but in the standard Cessna Pimple aircraft, that's rivets, many more people get killed because they fall apart, not ours. And they can verify those 1,300
They also
members in the
float.
club. They know that.
Almost
Yeah.
2,000
You know what?
members.
2,000,
You've seen Samoyeds, right? How big they are.
Mm-hmm.
We bought an airplane out of Hawaii, a Cheetah. These 4 Samoyeds got in it. And they took off from Honolulu International Airport. Couldn't get it out of ground effect, so they landed in the lagoon.
Well, they hit a sailboat mast
Yeah.
going across the lagoon.
And
I
landed in
mean,
the
4
lagoon.
people, and
4
the
Samoans.
Samoans, they eat lots of pork, and they
And-
weigh 250 pounds each, huh?
Yeah, they got out of the airplane, swam back to shore, and the plane floated for 8 hours. And finally somebody went out there and hooked on the nose and pulled up the boat ramp.
They had to
Pulled
wait
back
for a
across the
tank
airport.
cycle to get it in.
Rebuild it.
It's a good airplane.
Now, we got that airplane and we were looking through the history on it and trying to figure out what in the world had happened to this thing. It had some horrible
Or it
repairs
came to
in
you
it.
for,
We bought it. We bought all the fleet over there.
We bought, what, 13, 14 airplanes out of
how many do
Hawaii?
you have right now?
Together and not together.
Probably
Probably
25.
And you guys just do the
Take them apart and put them back together.
Yep. We had one, a guy had a 2-place, landed. He thought he started porpoising, so he poured the power to it, got back off the power and went off the end of a runway, went over a road. The road was only about this much higher than the runway. And he was balanced on the nose. His eyes were about that big around. Me and the kid run down there in the truck. I had my camera laying in the seat, and I forgot to grab it to take a picture. But it was balanced on the nose for about 5 minutes.
Oh, he was stuck real good. He had the spinner just buried, and the nose gear broke back under, and he was pivoted on that in the wingtip. And took 2 of us to push the airplane down. And he's all up in here holding on. His eyes about this big around. I says, "You okay, Carl?" And he says, "So far."
And he still had the master on. I said, "Turn the master off." He's pumping gas out of the carburetor.
Yeah. So we got up and it gave him a push, and of course it went down. I mean, he was out of that thing in the New York second.
But it didn't touch the tail. It didn't
That just
touch the tail.
bumped a little bit. And
Put
we
the rope
fixed
on
the
it.
airplane.
I towed him back over and we put
Sectioned
him
the front
on a
box.
ramp, covered him up with the tarp. Here come the helicopters from the news. That is going all over trying to find his airplane. This news guy came out and said, "I heard there was an airplane crash out there." I said, "No, there was an incident, but it wasn't a crash."
If you had a facility that was already in production in aviation, airspace, you could start this thing up for considerably less money than what it cost us to start it
6
up
months.
or would cost anybody else.
It's all set. Competitive, all set.
Well, we've got how many? What, 22 fuselages up there?
They had, when we shut down, they had 23 complete airplanes built and the detail parts for another
44.
44.
when you took over?
No, when we shut down.
When you shut down.
Those are available now.
Oh, they're still there.
Now, that comes with the purchase. That guy has no claim on that?
No, that's his inventory.
He owns it.
Oh, he owns it?
He owns it. Even though
That
it's paid
doesn't
for,
come
so
with
he
the
owns it.
purchase.
Which guy is that now? I'm sorry.
Kim
He's
Pratt.
in Little,
No,
Ron
Hot
Reagan,
Springs.
Hot Springs,
Hot
Arkansas.
Springs.
Oh, so he hasn't made the final delivery yet. He still has some parts
Right.
there.
Oh, yeah.
But he was holding
Yeah, he
for
sold
some
off
money or-
ailerons and outboard panels and flaps and some of that to Fletcher.
And I'm sure all the wings.
No,
No?
no, they couldn't afford to buy the wings.
Well, if you were to buy all this and you went to him, you could probably make a pretty good deal for those
Oh,
parts.
absolutely, because there's nothing, I mean, they're
He could
useless.
do nothing.
He's sitting on them waiting to see who's gonna start it.
All Fletcher bought was the fast
He
turn
wanted
items.
I believe $148,000 for inventory. What intended he had?
No, you mentioned he spent that much for tooling, refurbishing and new tooling they built for us. And if I understand right, there was an agreement, we pay for a set of bondments, complete fuselage, everything, control surface, and that includes the price for his
Tooling.
tooling.
We paid them on the first 5 ship sets, we paid them 30, 2.25, the ship says.
The tooling that he has up there that does come with the.
It does
the
come with
purchase.
the purchase, yes.
Now, I have a question there, Bob. We were informed by Ron Reagan that he had still a sizable bill against the tooling of repair and
He does.
refurbishing work.
He does.
And
has-
he expected to get paid before any of that tooling would leave.
He will.
And that was at
That would
140
have to come out of their.
something thousand
That'll
dollars.
come
Yeah,
out of
right,
that.
okay. But I mean, that's something, like I say, that would have to be a firm understanding in there that and anything like it
Oh, sure.
be absolved.
They go for the guy down in Atlanta too,
Yeah.
on what he has.
See, that all is involved in the
Mhm.
the 13.5 million price on the two lines,
Mhm.
because all the vendors will get 100 cents on the dollar out of that price that the court approved for the sale. So really, there are only two people with liens on tooling. That's Ron Reagan. And I think we owe him $98,000. So he'll get his $98,000. And then that tooling's free. We don't have to buy the tooling, the inventory he's had built up over there. All we have to do is pay him what he filed a lien on, which was on the
Right.
books. And the same way with Crestview Aerospace down in Crestview, which has some tooling stores for us. There was a second source to Advanced Engineering out in Wichita that we bought additional tools because of Dennis Hunter's delivery problems.
What all do they have?
Whatever the hard to make parts were that Dennis had trouble getting made, we retooled. There's probably, how many parts down there, Harry, you reckon, 30, 40?
Probably, but there's some other small companies also. For example, the
Well, Globe has.
aluminum brackets for the main landing gear. They've been made, I don't remember the company now, but they did an excellent job on the NC machining. Excellent. I work with them relative to there's several parts that have to fit together, put half-inch bolts in, 3/8 bolts and so forth. And I work with them to make all those holes match, and they did.
Talking
All
about
the
forgings.
people on the line did was get the bolt in, not with a hammer, we don't do that, but get the bolt in, Cessna does. I understand some years back when our American aviation people went out to look Cessna, they said they ran wing nut bolt in with a torque wrench.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can believe it.
We have not been allowed
Globe's
to
got
do
some
that.
tooling.
The parts had to fit.
We've refurbished some Cessnas also,
You also have.
and unscrewing what the factory
tooling
screwed up
in,
was the biggest
my understanding
problem.
is with,
I used to fly a 172. If you wanted the ball in the middle, you had to hold your foot on the pedal. It would never fly straight.
Well, that was
Who's that
brake
guy in
properly,
Louisiana?
that all can be done.
In Louisiana?
Came from the factory that way.
that makes the plastic parts,
No, that's in Atlanta.
Georgia.
was it?
Atlanta. That's Forrest Butler.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't own the tooling there.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of stuff Forrest says.
We have
so-
our own tools there. Since we just touched this subject,
We talked about
I
this
saw
last night.
a Fletcher ad in the Yankee magazine that says you can have all interior parts made on original factory tooling. But where are they? With Allied Plastic, our tools.
Yep, and they
And
make
he
them
also
for Forrest.
he also says we made it a little bit thicker, which I did. Remember, went to 75,000.
We know where a lot of your tools are at.
Allied Plastics has all that tooling stored in
the
it.
interior plastic tooling.
That's a guy in Atlanta. that does
Right,
that,
right.
yeah.
Believe me, they're using it.
Some parts.
Actually, you
Well,
can
they're
go
storing
back
our
and-
tools free.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't complain.
Let's go have a look at the other place with
Okay.
the tools and then
Get mine.
some discussion. How long have you been trying to market this?
They're talking, they're thicker than the original Grumman American.
Of course, it was 62,000, now it's 75. A1 winglet frame, that's the two-place. Drill fixture for the winglet frame for the A1. Here's a bond fixture for the upper cowl deck. Wall fixtures for the engine mount. The drill fixture for the canopy glass. Assembly fixture for the cowl. Glass pulling fixtures for the windshield and the canopy.
It's all at A1 then.
A1, yeah. I put the A1 on this side,
Yeah.
mostly.
Now this hasn't been produced for, when was the last one of the two-place made?
78.
78.
78?
Yeah, you can see it on your chart too. That's the bond fixture for the lower fuselage. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 honeycomb panels. That's why it's so strong.
Yeah.
The honeycomb panels and the carry-through spar on which the pilot and passengers sit.
Yeah.
That's why they stay alive. So this is a vacuum bond fixture. You insert all the individual parts by tooling holes. Very quick. It had to be loaded in 2 hours, by the way, because every 2 hours they pushed it in the oven. Every 2 hours. No, I take it back, 2.5 hours. Then you put a nylon vacuum bag over and you seal it off with natural rubber and pull vacuum. That's the only one of the few vacuum fixtures. One of the only one, really. The rest are air pressure. See, for control surfaces, stabilizer, horizontal, vertical. On the Yankee, they are the same. And you use air pressures on these silicone air hoses. I was surprised when they came back after being in storage. Most of them worked at ChemFab after 11 years.
This is basically the same way we got our tooling that we put in production.
By the way, this is a new fixture I built. I talked to you guys about for the cowl for the A1. To assemble all the parts and spot weld drill. This is the assembly fixture for the lower fuselage and the upper fuselage. You put the lower fuselage when it's finished in here, and you assemble the canopy, not the canopy, the turtleback.
Turtleback, yeah.
The aft fuselage, and well, that's about it. It's relatively simple. Here we have dies. This one, for example, may cost $5,000 today. You seem to know tooling, huh?
Yeah, I do.
And so it's awfully expensive. The so-called pancake dies are not as expensive. They may cost as much as little as a few $100.
That little film with the 4-wheel was going
One of
on.
these dies,
We'll just walk with them out.
an example of what you're making with these fit punch press, right?
Yeah, they're all for punch press. You could modify a brake press to do it also.
But what,
Punch press, yeah.
give me an example of on the airplane, what part do you make?
Well, I would have to take the die apart to figure out what it was.
Okay, but you, just say anything that you make with one of these things.
There's some dies which make the plenum, the steel portion of the control surface. If you run the control surface, it's punched out with a hard die because you can't do it in a router fixture.
Okay.
Or it would be very difficult. Dies are made for that purpose. So you see the part number of each part, and this is the tool number. And we have a Gulfstream generated tooling list that shows all the tools that they sent us. For example, this is a fixture to form a windshield bow.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, this one is for the 85 series. Here you form doublets for the color, which was popular, it wasn't in there. Now it's here's a die for the wing rib, which is different now. You got different dies, Kempep has them.
Our break even now, we got our break even now, 16 years
You know, right here you're punching a big part, big parts over there. They all set up for punch presses.
Aviation. He did the Mitsubishi, when he brought the Mitsubishi plant over the beach cars, he did that whole plant, started laying out production. And he's willing to work on this project, he's on the kind of make the door.
Yeah.
Now, we got two sets of bonding fixtures for the fullback. One set is here, and one set is inside. Well, they got this blue. We've got a single one, so they got the detailed part.
By the way, there's an old outboard wing frame.
Yeah.
They were like saying the pictures were apart. This is what one built in the study.
By the way, gentlemen, here's the draw die for the metal A5
If in the event
How?
we're gonna be making it,
right there.
we need to stay with them.
The big thing there.
If you're gonna
Draw the metal cowl. Of course, we're not using it because we went to composite, graphite.
Yeah.
And there's some master models for the winglet fairings. Here's a master model for the, you know what that is?
Mm-hmm. But these, the wheel covers?
Those are the spats that go up and around the landing gear.
Oh,
Here's a
upper
master
spats.
model for the carry-through spar.
oh yeah, I remember them making that. I saw that in the plant over here.
No, we didn't bend it here, we drilled it here.
Well, I saw it in the thing.
Yeah, I'll show you the drill fixture. That unit probably cost you $30,000 today. I experimented with molds that would make the
My whole concern is
out of fiberglass.
What is this, some experimenting that you did on composite?
This is part of the tooling that we built the composite layer mold.
Well,
I'll show you the molds in a minute.
No, I'm not
By the way,
talking to everybody.
here's a dorsal fin
A couple of other
rudder fixture.
offshore groups.
It's a dorsal fin rudder fixture, the trim.
That's the one I was thinking you were talking about. Marketing standpoint,
Right. You put it in here and, you pre-drill. No, I take it back. We got, oh yeah, we have a drill bar on the outside to pre-drill.
Sorry, sir. You go to any of your first off, you got to have a tree. Buy that a tree.
That's a master model for the
FAA before
canopy
you get
area.
the thing certified
That's a master model
in
for
the
the
US
hull.
if it's built over.
And of that one, we made splashes to
I don't know if they have trade in
Second is the 30%
which are sitting
value,
where?
already 30%.
Over there someplace.
What I would do
Here we got lab
is
molds.
build all the detailed parts,
We made our own,
Okay.
all composite parts we made in-house.
ship those by containers to
Lab
the
molds,
US.
right there for the winter.
And you
one
can build
is-
subassemblies of them.
Grumman, and one we go here because Grumman did not send us all tools. But they're complete now. It's a bound fixture. It's a bound fixture for the winglet fairings. See, the individual parts have been laid up right here
I was talking about just
in those molds, layer molds. Then they went into the bound fixture, which used to be a,
basic parts.
had a different purpose, but I modified, we made a bound fixture out of it. So it's always alike when it comes out in size and shape.
When I say subassemblies.
There are two different sections. Here's the layer mold for the lower cowl.
Yeah,
They may be
14 different parts that are stamped out.
This is all it
Yeah,
is?
to make that.
Oh, here's one of those modifications you did to the,
That's correct, yeah.
That probably ought to.
I don't know what that is.
You're pretty well informed. I was working here on, for example, on
Then later on,
modify the trim line and get those parts pre-drilled. You need to save money on the time on the final assembly line. The parts got to be built up to the high state of completion to the engineering drawing. Sometimes you cannot put holes in because you have to match it to something else.
Yeah.
But theoretically, they all could be pre-drilled and matched, theoretically. But in most cases, they are. Here's a layer mold for the A1.
What's your opinion of the composite cowling as opposed to the old style? Was it an improvement?
It's
or?
up to the beholder. David Fletcher likes the old metal cowl. Many other people nowadays want the composite cowl. It should be really in fiberglass. We use the graphite, which is too expensive.
But it made it easier. You didn't have to take the prop out to get into it. I understand that. But does it make it go faster, or
No,
what's
I
the
don't think
advantage?
so. I don't think so.
Can you make it cheaper in metal or in?
Probably not. I was asked to have vendors quote to restart the metal tooling, and some of we had and some we didn't, and it was more expensive. At least what we did here. See, I found a tool maker in my crew in the composite department. He was laying up on some junk tooling that a vendor made outside, and we paid him $10 an hour, and he built all the tools. We both built the tools.
Yeah.
So you got layer molds. You have actually secondary master models there. You can build additional molds just like that.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah, I need a chair like this. That's nicer than what I've got.
There's a bond fixture for the wingtips. Interesting. Yes, it's split and hinged right here. Again, this came off the master model, and when you get through with the wingtip, it will always be alike. They split right here. A simple operation. It opens up like a clamshell to get it out. Here the layer molds. Right, the layer molds. I'm thinking because we have an opposite, which is the master, to build that mold, you know.
Yeah, it was interesting. We had an AG5B in for annual in September, and I had to had the wingtips off of it, and we also had a 78 in there at the same time. And I just happened to pick up. I was doing some comparison on something. I picked up one and picked up the other one. That AG5B wingtip weighed less than half of what the
Exactly.
AA5B did.
Oh, I know that. Because you know who built the fiberglass parts for Gulfstream? It was a fiberglass tank company.
Yeah. Oh.
They make the tanks that thick, you know, and nobody complained. So they're heavy. Those are light. Right here.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah, it's the skin.
Just
You
half
know,
of
it's
it.
yeah. You squeegee the resin out and
And here's
Bag
the
it
polyester base coat, gel coat. And then you sand it off and paint it again with a urethane paint. And it works a lot better than the black gel coat, which was not polyester, because the red is vinyl ester. Vinyl ester. Here is the lower column. still got a gel coat on, stop dust right in the middle. And the upper cowl, later on we cut it apart. It's one piece. We got a rudder fixture to do that somewhere, to trim it exactly, and we have trim lines right in here to trim it to the trim lines. And as I mentioned, it's a little bit extra, maybe 60,000. So the final trimming is done and fitting is done on the final assembly line as you assemble all the parts. Here are the two final assembly fixtures that I designed and built with a bad bag in Cleveland. That's for the Traveler. See, it routes all the cutouts, period. Drills all the attach holes for the lower cowl. And this one is, wait a minute.
This is the Traveler here.
This is the Traveler.
Yeah. It's Traveler. This one, this is the AG5B because you got your
That's right.
air inlet.
You can't start forgetting. Yeah, it's modified for the AG5B. The engine cutout is in a slightly different position, and the lower air exhaust in a slightly different position. But the size is the same. You could put a metal box down there if you like.
Yeah, we've found by refabricating that metal, just virtually copying what Grumman had when some of the metal ones they put in, other than the fiberglass lower ducts, that put a roll leading edge on it back and raise the height of it 3/4 of an inch. We're dropping cylinder head temperatures some 40 degrees.
No kidding. Well, that could be incorporated, you know. The cutout
Yeah, that's a mod we've been doing for
probably
years.
stay in place. And it's slightly different by, it's more inboard, the cutouts, compared to the AG5B or 5A. There's a bond fixture for the outboard wing frame. It's a mechanical bond fixture with mechanical pressure. It's here because the better one is in Hot Springs. It's a bond fixture for the upper cowl, metal cowl, which of course is replaced by the composite cowl now. It's a bond fixture for an elevator. And of course you have bond fixtures for the wing. They will bond an A1 or an A5. An inboard, I mean a short range or long range. I would forget about the short range wing, period.
Yeah, that's history. It's been my understanding that the original Yankee bond fixture, you know, the
That's
Yankee
it. It
airfoil
started
bond
off
fixture,
right there.
has been
frame.
modified.
Yeah, the bond shoes.
Yeah. Do you still have the Yankee bond
we
shoes?
have the bond shoes here someplace.
You've got
It might be. It might be over there someplace. I know we have the bond shoes. They are in a not in a very good shape, but you could redo them again. Refurbish.
Yankee wings are about as rare as chicken lips to get your hands on. We hoard any of them and repair any of them we can get our hands on.
Well, some of them's for the two-place.
Oh, I see.
The bond fixture will work for the two-place or the four-place.
Yankee, you don't have a Yankee wing bond fixture, do you?
We have. It started off with those frames, and I got the bond shoes for the Yankee someplace down there. They need to be refurbished. I think one set of bond shoes. Here's a framing fixture for one of the elevator or rudder, possibly. The frame is honeycomb ribs and a tubular frame. It's bonded together, assembled, adhesive, paste adhesive injected, shoved into the oven. Then goes the skin on in a separate operation in a fixture like this. The frame is located by this shaft, and the pressure applied to the skin by air pressure.
Yeah.
See silicone air hoses? Doublers have been put on the inboard wing the original Yankee spar. Doublers have been put on, 2 of them, to reinforce the inboard A5 wing. That's the fixture that mounts the doublers on, air pressure too. Another one is in hot springs.
What's this round tube-like thing?
That's what he's talking
Oh,
about.
that's what you're talking about, the doubler?
Yeah, it's a quarter inch or 332 honeycomb core with an overlap, right?
No, it's just
quarter.
plain aluminum sheet formed with the joggle in place because it overlaps the expansion, the joggle, the expansion expanded end on one end. And so they're located there, they're taped in place with adhesive tape, and then the pressure is applied by air. See the ends? I came up with that expander. You turn it and you expand the end, make it round during the bond cycle.
Yeah.
Because it's not perfectly round when it gets to that point. Or to keep it round, let's say that, to keep it round. Here we have a rudder bond fixture for the A5 series. Starting with the Traveler all the way to the Tiger, they're all the same.
I see.
And that's a bond fixture for the AA5 elevator. Guess what problems we had. See this right here? We call it a heat shield. We built a fixture, it didn't have those heat shields on. The skin is only 16 thousandths of an inch. When it came out of the oven, the 16,000 expands more than the spar. And we had oil cans, I mean real oil cans. So the lead man in our tool shop at the time says, why don't we keep the hot air off for a while so it gets there later. Design those heat shields, and it worked like a charm. Without those,
It's like a potato chip.
that's the beauty about the bonding. It's not like a red decker. You got to have some other knowledge to make it work. And if it doesn't work, well, make it work. Here's the fixture we built in Cleveland for the horizontal stabilizer. You assemble all the parts, all at one time,
Oh, yeah.
in that fixture, and you have a horizontal stabilizer about 12 feet long.
That's quite a jig there.
Yeah, I helped to build that one too. Oh, here's the windshield bond fixture right here. For the present, for the A5 series, period. They're all alike. And you locate against stops the glass, and you apply bond pressure again by silicone air hoses right here. The connection for air is right here. And when you get through, it comes out, and I mentioned that yesterday, and the bonded windshield I had this built by my master carpenter. The bonded windshield goes in here. The glass, the windshield bow is here. It's supported right here. And the glass sticks out now as much, it's uneven. Maybe that much, maybe that much.
Oh, and you cut it off. Right?
Here's the router fixture
Yeah.
with a spring loaded because of the different contour. It's upside down now.
Yeah.
You got guides against the bow right here, and you route it off. You go over it slowly, and you go back. It will take off a little bit more, and you have a nice smooth surface for the canopy and windshield seal to match perfectly. Grumman did it by hand. We did it by hand for a while, till I came up with this in '93. Here's the nose landing gear.
That's the machine we were talking about.
Right here. It is operational. We made it operational. It was not operational when it came from Gulfstream. They cannibalized those switches. We had to buy and put them in. Here was a kind of a first try. See, the tube has to be machined on the outside. before you do the bending. And but we went out of business. Dennis Hunter had his own fixture to bend this, and it was not exactly to fit the gauge. It was acceptable. Here's the hydraulic unit to power this. It was designed by Gulfstream. Excellent job. Of course, we used it in Savannah. Here's a balancing fixture to balance the control surfaces. Put the lead weights on.
Yeah.
Here's another bond fixture for the four-place aircraft. One is in hot springs. They got two bond fixtures for the lower. Two places. But this unit right here, took a long time to make that work, and the expander.
For the spar,
Expand each spar. We use urethane, precisely machined plugs, and by experimentation I came up with the final numbers for the diameters and the length. See, it goes, the urethane sleeve is in here. It's now covered up, it's inside. You have two half shells which create the actual joggle. And what the hydraulic unit does, as much as 4,000 psi, it pulls the piston back. The spar is already inside against the end stop, right here. It pulls the rubber back and expands it against a removable outside diameter shell, because we get different diameters. We probably have all the shells in there. Now, this is set up right now, well, not set up for anything, but here's a center located for the carry-through spar. Here's a drill fix for the carry-through spar. For all carry-through spars, except I took off the A1. No, I covered them up. The A1 is here, the attached wing lock holes. The A5 is here. So the tool, it starts off with all the tooling holes. You locate the spar. You locate the spar. Gee, I forgot how to locate the spar, but I'll figure it out. Anyway, you drill the tooling holes. Then it goes into the, well, you drill only the tooling holes, period. Then it goes into the cutoff fixture, which locates every spar, including the carry-through spar, and both units come in and cut off to a predetermined length, to a final length, guided on those tooling holes. The tooling hole pin is not, you can't see it from here, but it's right in the middle. Then it goes back into this fixture, and you drill all the attach holes. They're all the same for all aircraft, except the two places here and four places here. This fixture probably, it was reworked so many times, see by the tool shop, that it probably cost several $100,000 in cost. It works now. We start off with wing spots, for example. I built this fixture here. Put it in rollers. A height gauge is put on, located here on the steel. And you find the high spot, the bend. They're not straight. They cannot make them straight. They do it with our tolerance. It may be 100,000 off, but mostly maybe 60,000. Little bend. You find the high spot and mark it. Why? Because in the bond fixture for the wing, there's only room inside of the rib cutouts to put the bend this way, not this way. So you have to find the high spot and mark it. Well, it's marked by serial number. We put a serial number, certain location, which is shown on the drawing. Then the bond operator knows where to put the spar. See, all of this you gotta know. So you gotta send your people over there and learn this in Hot Springs. I can help them. Before drilling the carry-through spar, it's being expended here. Again, on the tooling holes. Everything locates of those center tooling holes, which are shown on the engineering drawing. After expansion, on each end, this is a so-called bumper I talked to you about yesterday. A simple unit. It's not round. The expanded end is not round. The spar is not round when it comes from alcohol. They cannot make it perfectly round. It may be off 60,000. After expansion, you would think it would become round. No. It follows the original trend.
Oh, really?
So we find a high spot with gauges, with micrometers. They're specially made for that purpose. We got them. And bump the high spot. Again, the operator got to know what he's doing to come up within the tolerance level, which may be as much off as 20, 30,000. I'm trying to recall the numbers, but it's very little. And of course, then you take the spar, the inboard spar, and load the. From then on, it goes into the aircraft. Here's the assembly fixture, the final assembly fixture.
This is what you put a fuselage in?
The whole fuselage locates on its aft end, and then you locate this jig and drill the attach holes for the horizontal stabilizer, which are inside in a vertical angle bonded to that particular area. You locate the fuselage by measuring from the engine mount hole. So you have the same measurement on both sides. The fuselage may vary 30,000, 40,000. So you split the difference. And then you lock it in with shims against the side right here,
Yeah.
so it doesn't move. And we got some wedge shims someplace. And make sure that the fuselage is not twisted by looking. See, it's supposed to be lying flat here, there, period.
Can you make adjustments if it is a little off? Can you adjust it?
It wasn't off,
You never had one?
not my knowledge.
Huh.
Within tolerance. Again, you have tolerances on the engineering drawing. They are normally 30,000ths of an inch.
Okay.
It may have been off that much,
Yeah.
but within tolerance. Well, if you like to get the twist out, which you really shouldn't, you can step inside and it will straighten itself out. But you should not do that. A little twist will not hurt, because all the attach holes, the carry-through spots located here and there, and the attach holes for the engine mount, even if you have a little twist, assuming you have one, the engine mount and the engine will be in the right place.
Yeah.
And the spar and the wing will be in the right place. Who cares, theoretically, if the fuselage is slightly twisted?
Yeah.
But the important parts are located by tooling holes, pre-drilled holes properly. That's the horizontal stabilizer, the vertical stabilizer, the wing, and the engine. So
You can put a sport screw in between, huh? The fuselage can be any shape as long as those 3-4 things.
in theory,
Yes.
and we used to have a simple $7 thermostat in the back to sense the heat, and had to cut it on and off within 10 degree allowed and the operator working on it, he could do it within 5 degrees. Anyway, they wanted a computer put on. I said, forget about it, because it worked. No, they ripped it apart, and but we have another bond fixture, a mechanical bond fixture, that goes into the oven at ChemFed for the inboard wing. But this fixture was so efficient in Cleveland and Savannah that the best operator, girls, could load that fixture and bond 2 spars in 1 hour. And most operators have not been as efficient. There was Dorothy. They ran maybe 5 sets of spars in 8 hours. Not spars, frames in 8 hours. Now the other fixture, which is mechanical and goes into the oven, is fairly efficient. That's what ChemFed wanted, because this one is not operational right now. You have to connect the powdered sugar, and you have to get some kind of a thermostat on, maybe connect the computer, which we bought. It was $5,000. Never used. But the other fixture works just fine. Here we have tooling. All those tools right here and right there are from Advanced Engineering. They used to make our Tiger parts. All of those. Right there.
Lots of stuff here, for sure.
I would replace this monster with something simple. The cutoff for the or for every spar with a saw, a carbide tip saw, which could be a lot simpler. It's an old design. This fixture you can set up and start an operation in 2 days, because it has to be shut in and leveled with a transit, and periodically checked also.
This is the only fixture on the whole assembly line. This is station 13.
Right.
And this is where you put the fuselage in with the turtleback on it, and you align all of your telemetry, I guess, for your horizontal and for your wings and for your engine, and everything is done in this station. Once it leaves this fixture, there's no more fixtures on the whole assembly line.
That's right. The only one. You locate the acrylic spar, which is bent with all the holes straight road, all those tooling pins. We would drill the attach holes for the horizontal stabilizer forward, attach holes for the rear portion, the stabilizer holes in, and you drill the engine mount holes, and with one long drill all the way through, from top to bottom. And we just discussed, even if the fuselage theoretically is twisted, which it is not, it's within 30,000. The engine, the wings, stabilizer, vertical and horizontal are all in relation to each other correct. The flies level. This a fixture.
So if it doesn't pass here, it doesn't pass
It
at all.
doesn't pass there, it doesn't pass. Right? That's where you reject it.
So that's the like the final stage.
No, this is the first stage.
What is the primary stage?
Primary stage.
After this, then you set it on its wheels, then.
No, after this it goes to wooden, like stands like
Oh,
saw bushes.
yeah, I remember seeing
And the
that.
wheels go on about 3 stations on down the
Yeah.
line.
You put the fuselage on its side, so the people can work this way, standing up, and attach additional items, to the inside of the fuselage. And all those extra bond fixtures, like I said, they will bond the A5 series or the A1 series. And with some modification, you could bond the original A1, Yankee also. And we have those bond shoes someplace back there. They need to be refurbished.
All these tools were ready, we made parts on them.
The ChemFed is doing now the steel firewall now, up and lower. Much better job than Dennis Hunter did. Most of the items he did have been okay. And that expander, by the way, there's only one, expands all the spars, starting with the Yankee all the way to the 5B. That was the beauty of the design of the aircraft. When it was started off as a two-place aircraft and then became a four-place, all engineering did, you use as many parts as possible from the two-place on the four-place. Even the wings, they just added another panel to it, they shoved it on and put pins through, you know. This is a so-called turtleback fixture for the, for the aft upper fuselage for the four-place. There's another one in the back someplace for the two-place.
Yeah.
That's for the four-place, the second fixture. See, we had to build duplicate tooling in Savannah when we probably averaged 60 aircraft a month. When they shut down, shortly before they shut down, they broke the record, 88 aircraft in a month. We have been in Cleveland even more efficient with about 250 people. The best we did was 55 aircraft in a month. 250 people, that's all employees. Now we have some drill fixtures for the locating fixtures for the torque tubes, aileron torque tubes. By the way, those yellow fixtures are the fixture I pointed out, drill the attach holes on the wingtip.
Yep.
On all wingtips. All tools have been, if possible, modified to work for the two-place and the four-place. Well, this one was modified by adding. See, the two-place fuselage looks like this. It terminates here.
Oh, yeah.
So the tools are added in this portion and moved the carry-through spar and some other locators. It became a four-place fixture. So what engineering, the beauty is, see, from here along, theoretically, it's all the same as a two-place.
Yeah.
What they did, they added to the front. It's just absolutely fascinating how they economized to design the aircraft four-place and use two-place parts. Oh, now I know where to get my wing lock holes from. I didn't remember in the carry-through spar. This is the first step right there. This is the leveling. You level that fixture.
Yeah.
You locate the spar with a. We use an electronic inclinometer to measure degree. See, when the spar is being bent by the vendor, it's supposed to be 5 degrees, plus minus half a degree. Can you imagine half a degree?
Half a degree.
But it's slightly off. This side overemphasized. Looks like this, and the other side maybe like that. So what that fixture does, it does this trick.
Oh, I see.
We measure and the same angle on both wings.
Yeah.
Then we drill that tooling hole. From then on, I explained before what happened. Here we get some new tooling for the wingtip. Some sharp aids. But like I said, we've been in full production on all composite parts, including now a composite graphite dorsal fin. Here the drill fixture that I mentioned for the landing lights are different than the original one. Different part number. Anytime you change something on an aircraft, you have to create a new part number. Even if that sucker has 2 different holes in a different location. Sometimes, not all the time. Door fixture for the position light. It's used both, come to think of now, for the lens and the wingtip. Guess what? They will match.
Yeah.
You see, that's a problem of the Gulfstream or Grumman built aircraft. Was you never find 2 wingtips identical. And that's the reason we don't pre-drill the holes in the nav light lenses that we make.
Yeah.
We were the vendor to them on those Navlite lenses from serial number 143 up through serial number, or 43 up through serial number 50,
Cardboard box
150 something.
has templates and some paperwork from Dennis Hunter, Advanced Engineering. Oh, here's a bond fixture for a second bond fixture for the canopy. That's another beauty. Oh, I help to help the people of Roar in Riverside, California, to design it, fix and build it. Build a second set. See, they built some of the better bond fixtures, the second set of bond fixtures. What the fixture does, it locates all the parts, relative to each other by tooling holes, applies bond pressure. The cage can be taken off later on or before. We put a hinge on here and applies bond pressure again around 15-25 pounds. And you have a canopy in one shot. You can load it in half an hour. Here's an assembly fixture for the canopy.
Do you know that plane, the beach
I know this one too, so people can stand on the inside and work. You locate the canopy by tooling holes, which are in the bow. They start off in the bows, forward and aft bow. Then you locate the outside retainer.
Is that a mentor, right?
And
Yes, it's a tandem seat Bonanza.
Oh, it's a bonanza.
It's a Bonanza fuselage and it's a Bonanza airframe. It's just tandem seat military
you can match
configuration.
everything.
Same wing, same landing gear, same
They
engine,
match
same
the holes
the
match
tail.
the rails
Use the
which
standard
attach to the
three-piece tail rather than the V-tail.
Yeah,
Same tail as on the
this is a
A36.
bond fixture for the,
Yeah, the canopy also frees. Back,
and bond
center,
fixtures for
and
doublers in the
No,
tank
two
area.
plates,
See,
two
the
plates.
tanks and the propellers are
No,
reinforced.
Two seats.
Yeah, two seats.
The canopy's actually, you got a center section, you got a front canopy and a rear canopy,
By
and then the rear window and
providing pressure.
Which one of the aircraft here is compatible with?
none.
None.
Now this is.
That's a retractable gear
Oh, yeah.
complex aircraft.
300 horsepower.
So that's
It also is a $500,000 price tag.
Some places they stamp how many pounds or foot, whatever. Same thing with the other.
base price.
Maybe they're knowledge. It even locates the fuel cap that provides bond pressure to the skin before it goes in the wing skin bond fixture. We call it the skinning fixture. Framing fixture goes to frame, skinning fixture with the skin on. Now here we have wiring tables that have been built here, strictly for the AG5B. The wiring, locator and assembly.
All the panels basically the same? Or the back panel was probably all cut out the same, maybe the front was different.
Yeah, well, they changed instrument panels 2 or 3 times on the AG5B, and then they're different yet from what was in the AA5 series.
Oh.
And there's still room for improvement.
You will notice a tooling tag someplace. You can see it had to be approved by the Quality Control Department as being correct FAA regulation.
Harry was talking last night that Colin was just bringing up about the panel. Essentially, they custom configured the instrument panels for whatever was going in that particular aircraft.
That's right.
Rather than having a generic panel that you just plugged and filled holes.
It was generic only in respect of the having the major instruments
The normal
compass
thing.
and so forth. And then it was up to the customer to, whatever he orders on avionics, to be manually cut by the machine shop here.
There's probably
That
just
is-
much tooling still at Camtech.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Including they have all the dies for the ribs, the new ribs, the 40,000 rib thickness was redesigned to work without backup blocks on the inside. We have the old dies for the 20,000, 5,000 thick ribs, which have been in operation till about 1974 or so, 75. But they need backup blocks on the inside to react against the outside bound pressure. So they're redesigned to make it more efficient during operation. And so there's no tooling to make the ribs. Kempen. We talked about yesterday.
Yep.
It took some time for them to figure that one out too, how to make the ribs. Yeah, here's the master model for the cowl. You could recreate the metal cowl if you like, if the tools are, not all the tools are here. I understand some are someplace in Wichita. But there's the master model, the original. Again, Camfab, you give them that one, they can recreate anything you want in metal.
Yeah.
That's your starting point. We did some vacuum forming of interior parts. We built those vacuum fixtures here. Those are relatively simple parts that we made here. And we had a vacuum form machine. What's so damn sad when it was sold for $300,000. I got a master model for the master gauge windshield. The way they had problems with shape. So I took that one off the master model, canopy master model right there. Right there, the shape. And then we bent one bow. No, we sent it to Camfab. And they adjusted their tooling. They have been making the bow. And it worked just beautifully. All three good too. Here are drawer fixtures for the sump cover, by the way, which LI Plastic was doing for us. And all the all the interior was now made a little bit heavier because we had problems with thinning out in the corners. They had problems. Our quality control people didn't like it. So I said, oh, let's go to 75. Worked out fine. So practically from here on, the A1 and A5, and there's some of the Tiger, well, everything. And the drawer fixture for the, let's go, okay.